Facepalm America, I'm Beowulf Rockland. You can call or message us anytime at 202-656-6271. So, again, we come to a day where all sorts of stuff is going on in the world of politics and culture. The fascists are engaging in every kind of violence, physical and psychological, every possible sort of petty attack, here in the United States and abroad. But this is Facepalm America, gosh darn it. You know, this is a... We've always been an egotistical nation, and by golly, I'm going to carry on that tradition. I guess the reason that I focus on America, and the reason that I call it Facepalm America, is because I truly believe that given the really undeserved position of power that we as Americans hold in the world, that nothing really substantive is going to happen until we as a nation, and that includes our leadership, signs onto it. So I understand that a lot of people, rightly so, talk about other parts of the world and acknowledge and report on very important things that are happening all over the world. There are all sorts of coups going on in Africa right now. Of course, we hear all the time about the war in Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. There are all sorts of crises, people being put under greater stress by climate change. But I feel like America is the key to this. I feel that we have started so many of these problems and that they won't really get solved until we can get our heads straight about it, until we can clean up our own mess. And so I have a limited bandwidth. God knows, I ought to be doing a lot more, but I can only do so much. And I feel like I need to focus on where we are in America, in the United States of America. Because frankly, I think we're one of the biggest problems. And I think we need to get ourselves right. And if we do that, it's more likely that the rest of the world will follow. And of all the things I looked at today, all the multifarious horrors, one really struck me. It's not a life or death thing, but it reverberated with me. And that is the fact that they're going to be censoring Shakespeare in Florida schools. Now, God knows this isn't the only thing that Ron DeSantis, in all his petty stupidity, has done. It's not the worst thing. He's attracted trans kids. He's attacked gay people. He's attacked African Americans. I mean, the list is so long because it's endless. Like he goes and he finds whatever Fox News or One America News or Newsmax is reporting on as their made-up scandal du jour. Whatever gets white, cis, het, male Christians over the age of 70, worked up. And he makes a law about it. So he's basically legally brutalizing all the least powerful people in this country. And now, as a result of what he has done, Shakespeare, seemingly the most core part, or one of the most core parts of the Western canon, is now going to be censored in parts of Florida. Students in a Florida school district will be reading only excerpts Not the whole thing, because the whole thing isn't approved. Just excerpts. It's a sort of a Reader's Digest condensed Shakespeare that they're going to be reading. Just excerpts from William Shakespeare's plays for class rather than the full texts under redesigned curriculum guides developed, in part, to take into consideration the state's new laws that restrict classroom materials whose contents can be deemed sexual. Yes, that's right. Shakespeare talks about sex. Well, hell, the Bible talks about sex. You know how many begats there are in the Bible? You know how many people begat other people? You know how many people laid with other people in the Bible? The expurgated Bible. That's what we need too. We need the complete works of Shakespeare as adapted and expurgated by Ron DeSantis and the new Ron DeSantis Bible. I think those are coming soon. I mean, clearly we already have the Shakespeare here. But look, we Americans and people of the West have so much problem with this. As a product of that, I do too, I know. But we can't even talk about one of the most basic things in humanity. Like each of us represents an act of sex. Sorry. I hate to mention it, but it's true. I mean, we represent a lot more than that, and sex has happened more often than that, as it seems. But let's continue. The changes to the Hillsborough County Public Schools curriculum guides were made with Florida's new legislation limiting classroom materials that contain pornography or obscene depictions of sexual conduct in mind. Other reasons include revised state standards and an effort to get students to read a wide variety of books for new state exams, the school district emailed in a statement on Tuesday. Now, I don't have any problem with, making room for things other than Shakespeare. I mean, to be honest, we probably focus on Shakespeare too much in the process of our education. Shakespeare is great. Shakespeare is wonderful. I think some of the most amazing language and some of the most amazing stories in the Western tradition come out of Shakespeare. And I think we should continue to study. But we should also make room for other things. And we need to do that. And I'm glad that is being done. And you also have to acknowledge that Shakespeare can be a wee bit problematic sometimes. I mean, if you look at the Merchant of Venice, there's some pretty anti-Semitic stuff in there. Not that it shouldn't be taught, not that it shouldn't be performed, not that it shouldn't be critiqued. But Shakespeare is not without his problems. But the reason they're expurgating it, the reason they're only giving you excerpts in the Hillsborough County Public Schools District, which is in the Tampa area in Florida, is because there's too much sex. That was the best part of Shakespeare. Like as a high school kid, you actually got, in the context of your classroom, you got to study about stuff that you were thinking about all the time anyway. I mean, for Christ's sake, we're talking about teenagers here. Sex is very frequently on the mind of teenagers. Just happens to be that way. It's not too much you're going to do to change that. But you got to, listen to his bawdy jokes, his dirty little sides done in amazing language. And you get a sense that people were, just like us hundreds of years ago. They weren't any more or less special than we are today. They have a lot of the same prejudices. They have a lot of the same focuses, many of them sexual, that we do now. And that's, I think, the big part of what Shakespeare conveys. He conveys humanity in just a beautifully written way. And it's important to know that. And you can't cut off part of humanity. You just can't. And if you try, it's gonna come back at you in strange ways. Several Shakespeare plays use suggestive puns and innuendo. Yes, that's right. You remember the nurse from Romeo and Juliet? And the jokes that she was making? That's the one that stands out in my mind. Most of these I don't have at the top of my command. The ones that I have memorized, and they're precious few, are really depressing as opposed to sexual or suggestive. And it is implied that the protagonists have had premarital sex with Romeo and Juliet. You think? You think Romeo and Juliet had sex? Yeah, that is indeed implied. Shakespeare's books will be available for checkout at media centers at schools. Oh, nice, that's good, the district said. The decision in Tampa is the latest fallout from laws passed by Florida's Republican-controlled legislature and championed by GOP Governor Ron DeSantis over the past 2 years. The first law, dubbed Don't Say Gay by critics, was passed last year and prohibited classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in lower grades. The second law, passed this year, extended the prohibition on gender and sexual orientation discussion to other grades. So basically through grade 12, until you graduate from high school. You could be thinking about it, you can be doing it all the time, you just can't talk about it in your classroom. That's so stupid. So stupid. It also prevents students and teachers from being required to use pronouns that don't correspond to someone's biological sex and strengthens the system in which people can lodge challenges against school books. It's Ron DeSantis' Nazi bill, is what it is. Underscoring the confusion about what is allowed in schools, Florida Education Commissioner Manny Diaz on Tuesday put Romeo and Juliet on his list of books he is recommending that students read in August. So read it, just don't read the whole thing. Just read little bits and pieces of it, little safe bits and pieces that don't have any naughty bits. Remove the naughty bits from Shakespeare. Ron DeSantis, so that he can push his failing presidential campaign forward, is excising Shakespeare's naughty bits. That's what he's doing. The Don't Say Gay legislation has been at the center of a fight between Disney and DeSantis, who is running to be in the 2024 GOP presidential nominee. That's right. And has made the culture wars a driving force of his campaign. And yeah, that's what this is only about. This is just about Ron DeSantis trying to get attention, trying to make it to Fox News or Breitbart or whatever nonsense website there is out there now that pushes this crap. And so, I have devised for you what is likely to be the way that Shakespeare will be read in classrooms in Hillsborough County Public Schools near Tampa, and perhaps soon to come to the rest of Florida, and who knows, maybe other red states